dangerous precedent. So I go back to my original question, knowing that we both agree that this clutch aspect of it is total BS. If we step aside from that and just look at the NBA side of things, is this a fair trade for the rest of the league? Do you feel like the actual deal itself is okay?
Well, considering it felt like the Lakers were the only team that was going to be able to make this kind of deal, I think New Orleans did pretty good. Now, you get Lonzo Ball, which means you get LeVar Ball, and he already didn't have a great day on Monday. He's already got himself in hot water with Molly Curum and Jalen Rose and ESPN and everybody else on Twitter, but I don't think
he's such a tool, man.
He's literally goes by the any PR is good PR. No matter what it looks like, he's fine with it. So you do get that in there, but they also get the number 4 pick. So they'll get that on Thursday night of the draft. Do they take someone at 4? Do they flip that pick and try to go get a veteran to put on this young team? That's something as well. They're going to get Zion into the organization on Thursday night. So the Pelicans have a lot of things going for them. You add Josh Hart, so you get another guy that can maybe be a starting guard for you, maybe be a guy that gives you flexibility even with Holiday's contract. So I think from a Pelican standpoint, Eric, with what they had to deal with, knowing that any other team that made this move was an absolute. It wasn't a Paul George situation, even a Kawhi situation where the door was slammed. Rich Paul made it clear, if you are not the Lakers and you trade for our guy, we are absolutely going to free agency in 2020. And all signs pointed that he was going to the Lakers. So 1 year rentals, You're not going to get as much. I think what they actually got back for the situation, I don't think they did that bad. I don't really understand the whole salary aspect of it and all the picks. Eric, if the Lakers are as good as people think they're going to be, with Vegas having them as a favorite, who cares about the number 1 picks? You're going to probably be 25 or later in the draft outside of this year. So those 2 other picks, what do they really amount to at that point? It's not like you're going to get 2 top 5 picks. You're not getting the deal that the Celtics got when they dealt Pearson Garnett to the Nets.
But not only that, you need an advanced degree in accounting to keep track of all those picks. I was reading the deal today and trying to understand the details. And Justin, it goes all the way to 2025 potentially with compensatory picks and how they are, if this happens, then this happens, or if this doesn't happen, then it falls to the next year or moves to the year after, or it becomes a first rounder. And I'm like, I need an advanced degree to understand how this all works. I'm glad that I don't have to keep track of all that, but you're right. I feel like the Pelicans, they either have some picks or they really don't, but it's that 4th pick that I'm really kind of the most intrigued by.
What do you think they do with that Thursday? Do you think they take, everybody's talked about Darius Garland there. Do you think they go there or do you think they flip that pick and try to get some veterans and more talent on that team?
Well, what's interesting is if they do take Zion, and now here we've already, potentially hearing rumors that Zion doesn't want to play. Well, they will take Zion, but then, is he going to, gosh, that's a whole other mess. We'll get to in a different pod. He's saying he might not want to play there, or at least that's rumored and whatever. But Zion goes there, first pick. I think it depends. If I'm the Pelicans, I hold that 4th pick until draft night, because I'm intrigued by the possibility of adding RJ Barrett because of his connection with Zion, because of what that might mean. A lot of people felt like he could be one of the best players in this draft prior to Zion becoming a big star. So I don't know if that shakes out, I might want to team Zion and Barrett up just like they were at Duke. So, boy, I think it's an interesting thing, but I actually hold on to it until draft night, see how the 2nd and 3rd picks go. And then I kind of have my plan A, plan B, plan C lined up, ready to make some phone calls. But if things fall my way, I might take Barrett.
Well, the Knicks are at 3, and they've already talked about trading. So they seem to be a team that would be interested. Maybe they step back, get another pick, something like that. I think that there's some intrigue. I think 1 and 2 are locked down. I see Zion. There's no way the Pelicans don't take him. And if something happens, they just deal with it at that point. John Morant looks like a slam dunk to the Grizzlies at 2. They're already talking about moving Conley. The Jazz seem to be interested in him. The Celtics have some interest if Kyrie doesn't re-sign. And then I think at 3 back, Eric, all hell could break loose at that point because the Knicks are still the Knicks. And I don't know what back channel they're getting. We know that even if they get KD, they're not actually getting KD until the following year. So maybe if there's a team that wants RJ Barrett, maybe they try to get an unprotected pick next year from someone. I think that there's just all kinds. We talked about in the first segment. There's all kinds of things that opened up when KD went down and Klay went down, because now it's two guys that are off the board in terms of being able to make an impact for teams next year. So how does that change their strategy, how they want to move money around, things like that? So I really think that the Pelicans are in an interesting spot here because they seem to have enough guards. So maybe they don't need another guard at that point. So do you try to get a team to flip a pick, move up to 4, you take their first rounder next year? Again, try to get it where maybe top 1 or 2 protected, something like that, where you're still going to get a super high pick plus your own pick, because the Pelicans aren't in a position to win major. I mean, maybe they're a fringe playoff team if everything went perfect for them, but more than likely they're going to be back in the lottery again. So you're just trying to accumulate as much talent as you can and accumulate assets. So it does open up a lot for him. So I think what David Griffin had to work with at that point with this team to get the assets that he got, to get a guy that when he was playing last year before he went out in Brandon Ingram, that was putting up some pretty impressive numbers. And maybe Lonzo, now that he's actually going to get out of the piece of junk Triple B shoes, can not have so many ankle injuries. Maybe he could actually stay on the court. He's a guy that I don't think we've seen his full potential and full upside yet. And then you add in a pick, Josh Hart, some future stuff. I think based on what they had to deal with, Eric, I think they did pretty good.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a fair trade, at least for the NBA. I mean, the Lakers on paper, they gave up a lot. And if you look at their roster right now, yeah, it has LeBron, it has Kyle Kuzma, and then it has Anthony Davis.
Are you
and
going
beyond
to try
that,
out for them?
I can't, but you might want to, or Josh might want. I mean, beyond that, there's not a whole lot there. So I do feel like the Pelicans, they kind of got everything they could get from the Lakers. Now, I've got, before we move on and kind of quickly hit some of these other things, there's just a couple of blurbs here. Like I said earlier, there is some rumor that the Lakers are in play for Kawhi now that they have AD locked up. So if you were Kawhi, would you sign a big deal with the Lakers thinking, okay, yeah, LeBron might only have another 3 years left and he might retire, but then the Lakers could be me and AD for the next decade?
I don't really know what Kawhi thinks. I don't really know what
does anybody
goes through that man's head. So nothing would surprise me if he decides to go there. But you just won your second title and you were the man. And now you're going to go to a team that if you win another title, it's going to be all about LeBron. And if you don't win a title, it'll be how much of a failure you are. So I don't see why Kawhi would want to put himself in that situation, why Kawhi would go there. And even from a basketball fit, I mean, you would have LeBron, you'd have AD, Kawhi, and Kuzma. Is there anybody they're going to play guard for this team? And at that point, can they even afford anybody on this team?
Well, it's all veteran minimums at that point. But Justin, I mean, that lineup, holy crap. I don't know that there would be ever a big three that's as good as that.
No, but who's going to play for him? So if Kawhi misses his 22 games and AD gets hurt and misses his 25 and now LeBron's taking 25 off, they're never going to be on the floor together in the regular season. So that would be
That's true. They all got to play 48 minutes, 82 games.
And I don't think, looking at Kemba, that's the other guy that they're rumored for. I don't feel like a volume shooter is a great fit there either. He doesn't really play defense. He's always been a liability on the defensive side in Charlotte. So then are we going back to the Kyrie? Is he going to flip it and go there because he wants to play with AD and he'll just suck it up and deal with LeBron? Again, there's just so many different ways that this could go. Jimmy Butler going there, I think that is a horrible fit. I mean, I could see him and LeBron
I don't want that.
Killing each other 3 practices in when Jimmy Butler's killing LeBron for not playing D or something like that. I can't see that working. So, yeah.
And I don't think they can actually get Kemba. I don't think they can get Kemba or Kyrie unless they push this deal out to later, was it July 6th or something like that, July 30th, because the money changes. And that's weird to me because the Pelicans actually have to agree in order to push the deal later to give the Lakers more cap space. The Pelicans actually have to take less cap space. And I don't know why, if you're the Pelicans, why do you do that? So the money thing and the timing of the trade is something that's over my head. It's over my pay grade, and to understand how that would work and why that's still a moving target, so to speak. So I don't understand that part of it. But, again, they can't afford Kemba or Kyrie if they lock this trade in on July 6th.
Well, I think the one thing too with the NBA that we've seen is NBA, the stars anyways, tend to be patient. It's nothing to wait 4, 5, 6, 7 days for guys to make a decision to go around and do their tours and all that stuff, and then sit around and make, sometimes they don't want to make a decision on July 4th, so they wait until after that. So I think if you are a star, if you are somebody like a Kemba or Kyrie or Kawhi, if you're a big name and you want to go to the Lakers, that's where you feel, I think they would wait as long as they need to announce a signing or postpone or delay or whatever in that situation. So I don't think that would affect them too much if the Lakers had to wait to make sure something went through. I just think if you want to go there, you're going to do everything you can to make it easier for them. But I tell you, Eric, I don't know what this team does, because we just saw what happens when you're a team that you put all your money into a big three and you have injury prone guys that are way worse than what the Warriors had. I mean, KD and Klay have been pretty much Iron Men for the Warriors, especially when you talk about the playoffs, and you flip it to what's going on now where LeBron couldn't really stay on the court. And then Anthony Davis every single year has a different injury. And then what? Then you don't even know who you can depend on from a Lakers side. Oh, and by the way, you really don't have any picks coming up to even add guys unless you're going to get them in the second round at that point. It's the same stuff LeBron always does. Doesn't want to play with young guys, ends up with a bunch of veterans on the team, and just hopes they all stay healthy and they can make it work. That's been his formula ever since he was a Cav. He's been able to make it work a few times, but more times than not, Eric, it's backfired on him.
So do you think LeBron, it's way too early to decide this, but you talked about it earlier. The bettors have just totally changed the odds for the Lakers. Now, right now, LeBron and AD, it's not enough. Even with Kuzma there, it's still not enough. But do you think they have changed? I mean, they're going to make the playoffs now. I would have to believe if they're all healthy, they're going to make the playoffs. But does this change anything to where LeBron now has a little bit of brightness in that 3-year window?
For sure. I mean, it changes everything on this team, because it wasn't that long ago we were talking about, well, if they can't swing this deal for AD and the Pelicans really dig their heels in and make him stick it out, who else is going to be able to come there and be a fit? And it was like, well, maybe Kyrie is the salvation on this team. And then that rumor seemed to go away when he dropped his agent and signed the guy that's linked up with the Nets, that maybe he was hell-bent on going there. There's just been all these rumors, but a lot of them has pointed to guys not wanting to go there into that situation. So getting a guy there, having that second star there, having a guy that multiple players seem to want to play with Anthony Davis, it changes everything. So from a should they be a favorite perspective, based on the West right now, with the Warriors totally in flux, the Rockets seem to be more likely to kill each other than go to an NBA Finals. You're betting on teams like Portland or Denver over a team with LeBron and Anthony Davis. Until some of those teams figure out what they're doing, yeah, the Lakers are going to be the safest bet. But that's not to say if the Rockets swing some kind of a deal that we're not expecting, they move a Capella and go get another scorer in there or do something crazy, that they're not going to jump back up. So I think right now, when you're looking at from a Vegas perspective of who's the most stable team that's actually got healthy stars on their team and don't have a ton of them in free agency, because if they didn't have free agency, Philly would probably have the best roster. But when you could lose Butler and lose Harris and lose Redick, they're a complete flux. Milwaukee's the same way. Toronto's the same way. Warriors are a mess. Rockets are a mess. It kind of all points to the Lakers right now as being one of the more stable teams in terms of having at least 2 stars and a really good player in Kuzma.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned Redick, because I want to say one more thing on this, and it's this. I wouldn't go, if I were the Lakers, and blow all $30 million on Kemba Walker or potentially even Kyrie Irving, because a guy like Redick, or even a guy in free agency like Middleton, or a guy like Tobias Harris, or guys that you can piece together a pretty good starting 5 or even a 6-man type of roster with the $30 million in cap space that you have. if you bring in a guy like Redick, a guy like Middleton, or a guy like Tobias Harris, bring in some shooting, bring in some guys at the $5 to $8 million range, and be able to do that 2, 3, 4 times.